Welcome back to another episode of Red Zone in the Lab podcast. The Commanders need help, and we need to know where it's coming from. Logan Paulsen is joining us today to help us find out whether it's going to come through the draft, free agent, or possibly via trades. Let's get to it. Welcome back, Logan. It's been a little while. I mean, you've been super busy doing great things. How you been, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm glad we got this worked out. I'm glad I'm able to get back on.
I mean, you're on Twitter now. I mean, man, my goodness, right? Like, we've been trying to do that for years.
Yeah, making moves.
Tell us about your new draft show.
Yeah, so it's Drive to the Draft. It's a podcast that you can get on the Commanders podcast feed, and basically we're kind of doing deep dives on the draft stuff. So right now we're doing kind of our top 10, top 15 ranks at every position. We kind of talk draft philosophy. We kind of talk draft news. And we're in it. We're in it to win it, man. Watching a lot of prospects. We've been to the Shrine Bowl, been to the Senior Bowl. We're going to be going to the Combine next week. And we will give you updates on every single drill, every Commander-specific piece of news regarding the draft. So that is a lot of work, but it is a labor of love, and hopefully the fans appreciate it.
Now, I'm not going to do what your co-host actually do and have you to judge our friendship based on positional value of a team, right? I'm not going to do that because, well, for one, I don't want to be embarrassed, but I enjoy this show, man. I think it's a great vibe, and I checked it out. Kliff Kingsbury, like let's talk about that. Over the last 2 years, tell me, why do you think it didn't work out?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a multitude of reasons. I think Kliff did a lot of really good things. I think the offense was incredibly successful in 2024. I think we saw the fruits of that. And I think there were some really positive things that he did in 2025. And ultimately, what I think it comes down to is just kind of a disagreement in terms of perspective. Like Kliff really believes in what he believes in, and it's served him very well. And I don't think it quite aligned with what Dan thought of the team and thought of the defense and thought of the organization moving forward. And I think that's why they're able to like amicably part ways. Kliff's now in LA, but I think that's probably it more than anything. Don't necessarily think it's like a production thing or an efficiency thing, because I think the offense, when you look at the 2 years, is pretty good. I think it's just kind of like Dan wanting to get into more of a traditional, more of a team-centric approach, and it just didn't quite align that way for Kliff. And so obviously they decided to move on.
You were at the Senior Bowl.
Yep.
You speak very highly of a lot of under the radar prospects. Give us some under the radar Senior Bowl standouts that the Commanders might look at bringing on.
So this is something that I have a really hard time with, Deuce, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell your listeners why, is because the Senior Bowl does such a good job of making sure they're getting top 100 prospects. So guys that are going to be kind of bottom of the first round, day two, majority guys. And if you think about the Commanders, obviously they're picking at 7. So a lot of the guys that are going to be there at 7 aren't going to be at the Senior Bowl because they don't have to. They have enough clout. They have enough kind of preseason hype to be okay. And then the other guys who do really well at the Senior Bowl are going to move up boards. But when you talk about, like, again, wide receivers, one that always comes to mind for me, because it seems like it's a very deep group of players this year. Like Ted Hurst from Georgia State comes to mind, Skylar Bell, Jacoby Lane, another guy at the Senior Bowl, who, again, maybe had an up and down week, but has the frame, has the skill set you're looking for. Kevin Coleman Jr. from Missouri. I can't remember now. It's all mixing together, whether he was at the Shrine or at the Senior Bowl, but very talented, kind of undersized, return specialist, hyper twitchy type guy. And then the other one I want to bring up is Josh Cameron from Baylor. Kind of an unusual body type, and I think that's why he's so fun, because he's like 6'1.5", 6'2". He's like 230, but he's got like 33.5-inch arms, so he kind of looks like this spider out there in terms of his ability to catch the football. He's really stoutly built. A lot of development there from a kind of receiver, route running nuance kind of perspective, but really good football player. And again, a guy that I think could be there at 71, because again, like we were talking about this I was talking about this with Bram Weinstein a couple days ago. Like, everyone wants to talk about Malachi Fields. I think Malachi Fields had such a good week at the Senior Bowl that if he tests well at the Combine, there's no way that he's there for the Commanders at 71. So you're kind of looking at a little bit more fringe opportunities there for kind of down the roster guys. And I think the other position people want to talk about, Deuce, is edge, right? I mean, that seems like a position need. I think they probably go that way at 7. That's just my personal opinion. But like Derek Moore had a huge week. Gabe Yakis had a huge week. Zion Young had a huge week. So now all those guys that maybe could have fallen down into that 71 range, like, there's no chance, right? Because they had a good week at the Senior Bowl. So it just changes the dynamic coming off the Senior Bowl in terms of like sleeper prospects, quote unquote.
Yeah, we did a mock not too long ago, and Josh Cameron came up. We were able to get him, I think, in the 5th. But again, that was like a week or so ago. Like you said, I mean, it's a mock draft simulator, right? But that was just some of the names. And Derek Moore was another name that got to 71. If they do decide not to go with that for round 1, what about some day three centers? And what do you think about how Tyler Biotish, what kind of change from the rumors that we might be under center more? Do you think that fits him? And what type of day 3 centers can we bring in to develop and possibly be the center for the future?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think Tyler's done a really nice job, and I don't think it's going to negatively affect. If anything, I think it's going to help him positively, right? I think being under center, being in a kind of run first is strong because no team is really truly run first anymore. But being in a more run centric, more play action offense, I think is going to be, really beneficial for not only for the center but for the entire offensive line. And with regards to like center prospects, I think one of the names that's kind of interesting to me is let's see if I can find his name here for you. From Texas A&M, he's kind of big, tall guy. He's 6'6", like 320 pounds. Zune from A&M, he played left tackle for them. I think he's going to project to center. And again, like, there's a little bit of a play strength issue, but he's a 4-year starter in the SEC, knows a lot of football, and seems like a guy, again, switching from left tackle to center, but as a developmental guy, I think has a lot of tread on the tire. And because of all the football I've seen, I think like you want a smart player at the position, and I would think he's a guy that's pretty intelligent.
And when you look at that, a fit with that, like you said, 6'6" center, I was like, whoa,
Yeah,
that's a lot. He got to get down under center, but that should be fine with Jaden, because I mean, Jaden was 6'4", so that shouldn't be an issue with Jaden.
No, and again, for me, like, play height isn't necessarily like a huge thing for the quarterbacks, because offensive lines do, or now schematically, they do such a good job of creating throwing lanes and throwing windows. And again, when you're in those play action looks, like, the centers are kind of run blocking, right? So they're kind of down nice and low. But he just was a guy, like, is from a day 3 perspective, that I thought would be a really interesting fit, because there are some really talented centers in this class, but like, to me, they're more, 3rd round pick type guys. Like Jake Slaughter from Florida is a guy that's got incredible movement skills, lots of experience, but for a guy to get all the way to the 5th round where the Commanders are picking again, I think there needs to be kind of some warts. And I think with Zern, there are some issues with his game, but I think he's a player with a lot of experience that I think is going to be a much better center than he was left tackle at Texas A&M.
All right, so I think we like, for me and what we hear, we have a lot of holes. So I'm just gonna give you some positions, and let me know maybe a guy or two if it's better to like look in free agency for this player, or is it better to look at this player for in the draft. We're gonna start with running back.
Okay. So what I will say is, like, for all these positions, my answer is going to be kind of similar, and that, like, because there are so many holes, you are going to need to acquire talent via free agency, and then probably also supplement with the draft. So a great example, like, I know we're going to talk about running back here, I haven't forgotten, but let's take edge rusher, for example, right? Mm-hmm. You probably want to get, obviously, Dorrance Armstrong still under contract. You want to sign another guy, maybe re-sign Dietrich Wise, but have like kind of a room of 4 before entering the draft. even if you had four guys you're really excited about at the defensive end spot, that doesn't stop you from drafting a David Bailey or a Reuben Bain or Keldrick. Insert your edge rusher here, right?
Yeah.
Because again, you kind of have a good floor that is now going to be supplemented with this great blue chip talent. And so with regards to running back, I think running back is unique compared to the other positions we're going to talk about, because I do think running back is very, very talented in free agency and much less talented in the draft, at least on paper, right? So I would say you probably go somebody you like. I don't know, Brees Hall, Tyler Algier is a name that caught my eye, right? There's a lot of talented big name running backs that I think can fill a role for this team. And then I would look to offset or supplement that with somebody later in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. The running back from Arkansas is someone that really caught my eye at the Senior Bowl. I can't remember his name at the moment, but I thought a big physical downhill runner, if you're looking for that kind of runner, he's here in the draft. Very developmental, but would be a nice kind of addition in a later round. But I do think it's going to be both. And I think unlike defensive end, right, where you could get some good kind of starting caliber players, running back, I think you can get some plus kind of caliber players in free agency. And then I think you'll be supplementing with the draft, if that makes sense, Deuce.
Yeah. For the edge position, because you did kind of touch on it. It's two things. When we talk in today's NFL, and I know it depends on the base front, but the end and the edge, depending on the base front, are they interchangeable, or are those actually two different player types?
So yeah, I think that's a good question. It depends on the type of front you're in. So if you're in a 3-4, usually they call the edge kind of a Sam linebacker. So like think Ryan Kerrigan or Brian Arakpo, right? When they were here and we were running a 3-4 base, like they're an edge player, but they're technically a linebacker. When you bump into sub or your 4-down spacing when you're a nickel, that guy becomes the defensive end. So they are kind of interchangeable depending on the front. But like a good example of this would be like Keldrick Falk from Auburn. Like he's 6'6", he's 290. I really like the player, but is he a true stand-up linebacker, or is he more of a true 3-4 defensive end where he's playing a 4-eye or a 5 technique, which is like head up on the tackle, which is a much different body type, much different skill set. So they are interchangeable to a certain extent, but there is a big difference, I think, in terms of usage, depending on whether you're in a 3-4 or a 4-3.
So when it comes to Arvell Reese, are you profiling him as an edge rusher or a linebacker?
So I think I'm profiling him as an edge at the moment. And again, part of the reason is, I think he's a really dynamic athlete. I think you see flashes of him as a pass rusher. I think you see him do a great job. He's in this spy role, hunting down Archie Manning against Texas, doing a really nice job of that. Like you just see the athleticism, you see the closing, you see him set strong edges in the run game. So to me, I'm like, what does that look like? Does that look more like an off-ball player or more like an on-ball player? And to me, it looks more like an on-ball player because he plays stand-up kind of 3-4 Sam linebacker, so that edge position we were just talking about. And I think that just makes it a really easy transition to kind of an NFL edge, especially if you're going to be in the Durante Jones defense, which I think will have elements of 3-4 to it. And I think you want pieces like that like Arvell Reese, like David Bailey, who can rush the passer at a high level, but also drop. And again, we can play defensive end or we can actually play a stand-up linebacker. So I think that flexibility for him in this scheme would be excellent. But for me personally, I think he's more of a defensive end.
All right, the safety position.
Oh my gosh. So safety position is interesting because I think in both free agency and in the draft, it's not the strongest. I think there are some names in the draft that should get you excited. My only question is are those guys going to be available when Washington's picking at 71? Because I don't think you're going to, obviously Caleb Downs is one of my favorite players in the draft. And if they took him at 7, I would be ecstatic. I just don't know how the team is going to value that position in this draft. Because I think there's a bunch of really talented kind of off the board players. You got Sonny Styles, who to me is one of the best linebackers I've evaluated in the last 5 years or since I've started doing this. Then you've got Jeremiah Love, who's an excellent running back, but positions that aren't traditionally positions of quote unquote value, right? So I look at this and I say to myself, well, how do you weigh that? Because to me, Caleb Downs is maybe the best safety, maybe the best football player in this entire class. So I wouldn't have a problem at 7, wouldn't have a problem with Sonny Styles at 7. Just depends on what the team wants. If you're looking for kind of that next wave of safety, like to me, they're kind of fringe first round guys. So Emmanuel McNeil from Toledo, Dylan Thyman from Oregon, like really, really good players, but there's like no way they make it to 71. So you're looking
Yeah.
at a very different type of player at that safety position at 71, which is a little bit less kind of knock it out of the park. Like Bud Clark is a guy at the Senior Bowl who's got a lot of interceptions, great ball production, very physical downhill. Maybe he fits that role, but like, does he even make it to 71? So that's where, again, like not having that second round pick complicates the matter, specifically when it comes to safety and some of these other kind of supplementary positions.
Where are you when it comes to like youth and vets? Specifically, you hear everything about Bobby Wagner and what he brings, and like it's still up in the air if he's going to come back or not. But like, how do you balance a team with you? Because that's a big. I mean, Adam Peters said, "Hey, look, we need to get it younger and faster." So it's obviously a conversation within the building.
Yeah, for me, I think you need both. And that's the thing that's really hard about it is like some of the best learning that I ever had was from veterans on the roster. It wasn't necessarily from coaching. So I think you need to walk that line of having experienced players, on the team to mentor young players while also making sure that those young players are in roles of significance on the team. Like you mentioned team speed, right? I know Bobby Wagner's that's been a big talking point around him. Like I think his leadership, I think his play down the stretch was excellent. I think there's a role for him, but does it transition now to more of a first and second down role? And you let a guy like Jordan McGee get the green dot on third down, or maybe Kane Madrano comes in as a nickel, and those are your two lines. You know what I mean? Like, where is that evolution come? And those are some names I just threw out. They could be anybody. They could be free agents. They could be draft picks, whatever it looks like. But I think finding that balance of kind of getting that core nucleus, because again, you look at the teams, like look at Philadelphia last year in the Super Bowl. Look at Seattle this year in the Super Bowl. Like they're so excellent at drafting and developing talent. So they have this young, cost-controlled nucleus, which the Commanders don't currently have for a myriad of reasons, but largely because a lot of the draft picks of the previous regime are no longer on this team. So you kind of have to overcome that with free agent signings, hitting on draft picks, developing young talent, and that can be really, really challenging. So I think it's a tough tightrope to walk because I think the last couple of years, Adam Peters has been tasked with something that's very difficult of like fleshing out the middle of your roster with free agents, which is less than ideal because those should all be draft picks, in-house, true developed talent. So again, this is a weird time because you need young pieces, you need experience, and so I don't envy Adam Peters in terms of his task heading into this offseason.
All right, the linebacker position, free agency in the draft.
Yeah, so I actually like some of the linebackers in the draft this year, and I've done more prep on the draft guys. I haven't looked at the free agency stuff quite as much, but I think when you look at the linebackers, like two of the guys you've already talked about, Augville Reese, Sonny Styles, like are excellent football players, right? So linebacker, if you can address that at 7, that'd be excellent. CJ Allen, I'm a little bit up and down on his film. I think he's more of a traditional downhill thumper, so I haven't seen the coverage skills that get me excited. But then I look at a name like Jake Galladay from Cincinnati, who's 6'4", he's 245, he played defensive end, he's played the star position. Dude is nasty. He can run and hit. And he's like right now on most mock drafts in like that 50 to 65 range. But let's say he takes a little bit of a slide and he's there at 71. I think you're doing absolute backflips because he is an absolute baller. Jacob Rodriguez, right? Everyone knows that name from Texas Tech. Great ball production. Worry about the athleticism. I think the combine next week's going to be big for him, right? In terms of finding kind of do you meet minimal athletic thresholds? And then a guy that I absolutely loved at the Senior Bowl, Deuce, was Kyle Lewis from Pittsburgh, who is like this 5'11", 220-pound safety linebacker hybrid, but dude just plays ball. So I don't know where he fits, but there are some good football players, but the dynamic of what they look like changes pretty dramatically as you move down the board. And again, like that 71 should be a piece you can build around. So you got to be really selective about who that player is going to be.
And wide receiver, there's been reports from Daniel Jeremiah had like a Zoom meeting or something, and he kind of like 18 wide receivers that could possibly go, with the first few rounds. Where are you with the wide receiver position?
Dude, if you need a wide receiver, I think you probably sign one in free agency, right? Like someone with experience, right, to flesh out the room. Like Jennings from San Francisco is one that comes to mind. A guy that you can count on. He's reliable. Maybe not the flashiest player, but a good pro. Going to block. Going to make the tough catches on third down. Going to be where he's supposed to be. And then in the draft, I think you could take a swing at 7. Obviously, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Lemon from USC are guys that could be in that 7 conversation. I'm personally partial to Denzel Boston, who I think is an absolute stud, who people aren't talking about enough. But the thing about receiver, man, is
That's a 6'4" kid, right?
Yeah, 6'4" from UW. He's 210 pounds. His dad used to play in the league. Like big, physical, nasty.
Son?
Huh? Yeah.
David, that's his. I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah, crazy, right?
Me that. I didn't know that. Okay.
I'm just going to read some names like off this list that I got here. So you got Kevin Concepcion. You got Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana. You got Zachariah Branch. Chris Bell coming off an ACL, who is a baller. Malachi Fields. Chris Brazel. Elijah Surratt. Jeremy Bernard. Antonio Williams. Ted Hurt. Like, I haven't said anybody who's bad at football yet, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the cool thing about receiver this year is if you understand what you're getting from these guys, because they're not all the same type of player. Some of them are slots, some of them are perimeter guys, some of them are kind of the big slot that you see like in LA with Puka Nacua, but there's a role for these guys. And if you can identify, hey, we need a true Z, we need a true X, we need an F wide receiver, it's here for you. And I think there will be one at 71. Like, I think that's the thing I get really encouraged about, like for the Commanders in terms of need, because I think there's a lot of players that fill that bucket.
That's a question I had. Oh, Ben Sinnott. I kind of thought about this when you were talking, and I, if I can remember correctly, I know when Adam Peters was talking about when they drafted him about the Cal Jusek role. I might have butchered his name. I'm not sure. Do you think we can see, like, under center? Do you think he will be used more, and we'll see that more as a fullback, H-back type player for Sinnott?
I think 1,000,000%. Like I do draft stuff and I write up reports, and I remember writing up, like, I think he would be an excellent fit for a Kyle Shanahan kind of play action offense. And the reason I said that is because a lot of what he did at Kansas State was get open on like big seams, big corners, high crossing routes, because he is an explosive athlete, right? He's just not super quick in the short area. And I think when you look at Zach, like Zach was such a savant when it came to route running and his movement skills and setting up stems. Like, it was like literally a masterclass, right? And Ben had that's like not Ben's game. What we're transitioning to, or what we're purportedly transitioning to with this Ben Johnson offense, I think fits that much more, because he can play fullback, he can play inline, he can work some of these releases off of play action where he doesn't have to work the technical footwork as much. It's just like run fast, hit one cut, run to space, and we'll get you a football. And I think that's something that I'm pretty excited to see. And I think when you've seen him catch the football over the last 2 years, how long has he been here? 2 years? Yeah, like the preseason game against the Jets, not last year, but the year before, right? Mm-hmm. The big play he had against the Giants, they're all off these play action seams where he's really working the middle of the field. And I think you're going to get a lot more of that here with David Blau.
It's draft day one. They ask you to come to the room. Adam Peters say, look, I'm hungry. I'm about to run to the cafeteria. If they call, Logan make the pick. These players are here at 7. Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs. Somehow all these players got here. Don't ask me how. Let's just
all right, okay.
Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs, Makai Lemon, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Mansour Delaney. Who is Logan picking?
Man, I got the easiest job in America at that point, because I'm in a great spot. I didn't even have to, no compromise for me. But I guess the hard part is that you're choosing between your kids a little bit. You're choosing because you like all of them. You know what I mean?
Makes sense. Yeah.
So what I would say is the 3 names that jumped out to me, or the 4 names that jump out right away, are Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, and Caleb Downs. Like, I don't think you can go wrong with those 4 football players. Like, I am so, like, when I watch them, like their professionalism, like how Sonny Styles takes on blocks, so unique for college linebackers, right? How Arvell Reese, like just the explosive, powerful athlete that he is, and how I think about Durante Jones using that skill set. And then Caleb Downs, who, in my opinion, is maybe the second best football player in the entire class. And then Jeremiah Love, who, again, a lot of people say running back at 7, like it's a playmaker at 7, right? Like the ability to run, the ability to play slot, the ability to kind of win versus man coverage versus linebackers and safeties. Like that dude's got it all. So I think, gun to my head, I had to pick between one of those 4 guys. I'd probably say Arvell Reese, and I've come a long way on the Arvell Reese train, because I don't know if you listened, but on the drive to the draft, I was like, man, I don't know, like I don't really see it. But the more I watch him, man, the more I just understand the athlete and the physicality that he brings. So I'd go that way, but I honestly believe between those 4 guys, there is no wrong answer.
Well, there it is. Logan, as always, I appreciate you for taking the time to come on. The draft show is just on Apple, right? Because I couldn't find it anywhere else.
I think it's it's on the Commander's YouTube. I guess it is only on Apple. I'll double check with my producer and I'll text you, Deuce, and we'll figure it out. We'll get it all worked out.
Yeah, just send me the link so I can put it, because I was on the page and I was listening to a few of the different episodes, and that's all I was able to find. But let everyone else, I know, the YouTube show that you also have.
Yeah, so obviously we do Command Center on the YouTube, Command Center podcast with Fred, Santana, and Smoo, which is the best time, and the Drive to the Draft. So those are all the big shows in Commanders Land, and obviously give me a follow on Twitter, give me a follow on Instagram. Really appreciate it, and yeah, man, that's it.
That was Logan PAULSEN. We are so excited he was able to join us, and he helped us get to a point on what it is going to take for us to be successful, to add talent to this roster. Thank you so much for joining. I know your time is very valuable for you to spend it with us. We absolutely appreciate it. Remember, do it because you love it, not because it loves you. One beat, one sound, one heart.